Ever feel like we're looking at the same market data as everyone else, but like we're missing a secret code? Like there's a whole conversation happening in whispers just out of earshot. Well, today, we're handing you a listening device and cracking the code of GBP/JPY futures.
Let's do it.
We're going to take a deep dive into the latest commitments of Traders Report, the COT Report for short, for the week ending September 10th, 2024. And let me tell you, this isn't just some dry financial document. It's giving us a glimpse into the actual bets being placed on the future of this currency pair.
Yeah, it really is.
You might be wondering why this even matters. Well, the COT report lets us peek behind the curtain and see how different groups of traders are feeling. Are they optimistic? Are they cautious? And get this, these groups aren't all watching the same signals. Today, we're going to break down these different viewpoints. And trust me, the contrast is pretty surprising.
Yeah, we're talking about decoding the motivations and actions of different trader groups. Because, believe it or not, those actions leave clues about where they think the market is heading.
Right. It's like we're about to analyze the mood of the market by studying its body language. And the first group we're focusing on is the non-commercials. Think of these as the bold adventurers of the trading world. Hedge funds, large speculators, those who are comfortable with a bit of risk, maybe even thrive on it, all in the name of potential profit. And for the week ending September 10th, they're feeling pretty bullish on GBP/JPY.
What's interesting here, though, is that their bullishness isn't equal across the board. They're holding what we call a net long position in both currencies. Meaning they're betting on both to increase in value. But get this, their GBP position is significantly larger.
Okay, let's break down those numbers because, as always, the details are where things get fascinating.
Absolutely. Their net long position in GBP futures is at a hefty 90,288 contracts. Now, to put that in perspective, that represents 33.15% of the total open interest. That's the total number of outstanding futures contracts. Now compare that to their net long position in JPY, which is still significant, but comparatively smaller, 55,770 contracts, representing 14.81% of open interest.
It's like they walked up to the currency exchange counter and said, give me a whole stack of British pounds and throw in a handful of Japanese yen while you're at it.
Exactly. And that right there tells us they're seeing a brighter future, a stronger potential for gains in the British pound compared to the Japanese yen.
This bullish sentiment from the non-commercials is intriguing, but it gets even more interesting when we see what the commercial traders are doing now. These are typically the more risk-averse folks in the market. Think of large companies that import or export goods and use futures contracts to protect themselves from currency swings. And their actions suggest they're seeing things a bit differently. They're actually leaning bearish on GBP/JPY.
That's right. They're not looking to make a quick profit from the fluctuations. They want to make sure those fluctuations don't hurt their bottom line. And right now, their actions suggest they're anticipating a potential downturn in GBP/JPY.
So we've got our adventurous non-commercials feeling optimistic, while our more cautious commercial traders are, shall we say, bracing for a possible dip. It's a real clash of perspectives here. And you, our listener, might be wondering who's reading the tea leaves correctly.
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack next.
So we've set the stage with our two groups of traders, and their very different outlooks on GBP/JPY. But let's dive deeper into the commercial traders' positions, because their strategy is giving us some pretty strong signals. Remember, these are the folks using futures contracts for hedging, not necessarily for risky bets.
Exactly. Their main goal is to protect themselves from unexpected currency swings. And right now, they're holding a net short position in GBP futures, meaning they're essentially betting on the British pound to weaken against the Japanese yen.
And it's not just a small hedge, right? We're talking a significant chunk of change here.
Absolutely. Their net short position in GBP futures is substantial. Negative 107,278 contracts, representing a hefty negative 39.40% of the open interest. That tells us they're seeing a real possibility of a downturn in the pound.
Okay, so they're bearish on GBP. Makes sense so far. But here's where I'm scratching my head a bit. If they're bearish on the GBP/JPY pair, wouldn't they also be loading up on short positions for the Japanese yen?
It seems logical, right? But the data tells a different story. This is where things get even more intriguing. While commercial traders are indeed net short on JPY as well, their position is comparatively smaller, at negative 66,719 contracts, or indicative at 17.71% of open interest.
So they're hedging against GBP more heavily than JPY, even though the bet is on the pair. What's the takeaway there?
That's the million-dollar question. And it suggests something really fascinating is happening beneath the surface. Remember, These commercial traders are often dealing with international transactions, supply chains, and various economic factors that we might not see immediately. Their actions suggest that while they're wary of GBP/JPY, their concerns are more heavily focused on the British pound.
That's a really interesting nuance. So it's not just about bullish or bearish, it's about the magnitude and the target of these positions. We're seeing a fascinating asymmetry in how commercial traders are viewing these two currencies.
Precisely. And there's one more detail in the commercial traders' positions that we absolutely can't ignore. Remember we talked about how these reports are like snapshots in time? Well, this snapshot reveals a massive change in sentiment compared to the previous report. The commercial trader's net short position in JPY actually jumped by a staggering 567.29%. Oh, hold on. That's not just a jump, that's a full-on leap off the diving board. What could cause such a dramatic shift in their outlook on the Japanese yen, my friend, is the heart of the mystery we're trying to unravel. It suggests a sudden and dramatic shift in sentiment among commercial traders towards the Japanese yen. Something has happened, some piece of information or event that has these large players making significant adjustments to their positions.
So we're not just looking at static numbers here, we're looking at a dynamic story unfolding. With the commercial traders reacting to something specific regarding the Japanese yen, this is where we really start to see the power of the COT report. It's not just a spreadsheet, it's a real-time narrative of how those in the know are interpreting global events.
Okay, so we've got this fascinating contrast. The non-commercials are risk takers, feeling the GBP bull run, particularly compared to JPY. Meanwhile, the commercial traders, our hedgers, are building up their defenses against a potential GBP downturn. With an intriguing twist on the JPY side, you're probably wondering, what do we do with this information? And who's likely to be right?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And here's the thing, there's no guaranteed answer. But that's what makes analyzing the market so interesting. What we're seeing is a market in flux, trying to find its equilibrium. The non-commercials, comfortable with risk, might be acting on information or analysis that suggests the British pound has room to grow.
Maybe they're seeing positive economic indicators for the UK, or maybe they're anticipating a shift in global trade that favors the pound.
Exactly. On the other hand, commercial traders, focused on protecting their businesses, might be responding to different signals. Perhaps they're seeing weaknesses in the UK economy that we haven't fully grasped yet, or anticipating events that could weaken the pound. Their dramatic increase in JPY short positions adds another layer to the puzzle, suggesting a potential change in sentiment towards the Japanese yen as well.
It's like they're looking at two different maps of the same terrain, each with its own landmarks and potential hazards. So how does a listener, someone who's actively trading, make sense of these conflicting viewpoints?
This is where you have to put on your detective hat and consider the bigger picture. COT data is a fantastic tool, but it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle. It's crucial to combine this insight with other forms of analysis, like technical analysis, which is all about studying price charts and patterns.
It's like looking for footprints and clues to understand the market's past behavior and anticipate its next move.
Exactly. And then there's fundamental analysis, which is like delving into the economic engine room, examining things like interest rates, GDP growth, political stability, all those factors that influence a currency's strength.
It's about understanding the underlying forces that drive those footprints on the charts. By combining these different perspectives, you can start to create a more holistic view of the market and make more informed trading decisions.
And perhaps most importantly, remember that the COT report is just a snapshot in time. The real insight comes from tracking how these positions change week to week. Are the non-commercials increasing their GBP longs, becoming even more bullish? Are the commercials trimming their JPY shorts, perhaps suggesting a shift in their outlook on the yen? These trends and changes over time often reveal the real story.
So, the key takeaway for our listeners is this. Don't be afraid to dive deep, ask questions, and look for those subtle shifts in the market's mood. The COT report is a powerful tool, but it's most effective when combined with your own analysis and a healthy dose of curiosity. And of course, remember that trading always involves risk.
Absolutely. No matter how much analysis you do, the market can always surprise you. That's why it's essential to manage your risk. Never trade with more than you can afford to lose. And always be prepared for the unexpected.
Wise words. The market is a fascinating, ever-changing puzzle, and understanding the motivations of different trader groups, as revealed through the COT report, is like gaining access to a secret decoder ring. Use it wisely, keep learning, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one leaving everyone else wondering, how did they know?
Guess.
Until next time, happy trading.